Alright, let's see if this works because I'm not seeing anything on my end. Yeah, let's see if we get an image. No, I'm not getting an image. Let me give it a second. Sometimes it delays. Bear with me. Okay. Sorry about that. For some reason, it was just not showing right away, and I was showing a blank screen, so I'm glad it's showing now. So, welcome everybody. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Barn on 11970. And as always, thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. And I want to share with you a comment that one of my subscribers left, and I think this is really important, and it hits home. So it is 11:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 3rd of April already, believe it or not, 2017. And I'm going to do a screen share because I want you to see this because I think this is important. So let me first make sure you could see. Okay. All right. So people are starting to come in, so I want to welcome them. And they left a comment on my last video that I made earlier today. So if you haven't had the opportunity to listen to that, please do. But it basically has to do with um, the raccoon and animals in general and things like that. And they left such a great comment. I wanted to give a shout out and I wanted to talk about this. This is a comment that is left by 777. And he starts with a Bible quote. It says, 26, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And end quote. He says, though I believe the Bible to be corrupted, now this is him speaking, I still think some useful information is here. That being said, one has to question, what does having dominion over mean? From the definition below on, would say we have the right to do anything we want to the life on this earth. It would be my opinion that there is a lesson here. Being given control of something means you have been entrusted with the moral obligation to treat that which has been given to you with the utmost respect and privilege. The exercise of care, love, kindness should be that of the utmost importance. Being given dominion over something does not give you the right to abuse, destroy, or neglect something. Possibly why we have so much strife in this world, for we don't treat the things that have been given to us with the utmost moral obligations. Hell, they even justify killing and torturing humans. These are immoral lessons that are acted out on the world stage for us to view. The children learn through executive example from people of authority on the TV, video games, computers, and social media. It is no wonder society is degrading to such an extent. The most responsible and visible people are setting the stage for further deepening of immoral behaviors. And he goes on, sorry to hear about the raccoon's final demise. You're a good man, Chris. Too bad you don't have children. You would have made a good father. That I agree, but thank you for that. Um, then he goes on to give a definition of sovereignty as man's attempt to establish dominion over nature. And I want to talk about this because I think this is an absolutely great comment, and I thank you for leaving this. As you could see, he talks about us having the privilege of being dominion over everything. And that doesn't mean to torture or to hurt or to abuse or to take advantage of for your own personal gain. It's supposed to be about, think of it like a babysitter. You're left in charge to take care of someone that is not able to take care of themselves. And you've been given, in a way, in essence, dominion over that child or those children. So you're not supposed to say, well, because I'm in charge, that means I can beat you down or rob you blind or take from you what is yours. It means you are given the utmost authority so you can be showing and setting a good example. Now, I want you to think about that. Is that what our representatives all around the world are doing? They claim to have dominion over us. Now, the only reason they have dominion over us is because we seem to accept it, we seem to allow it, we seem to think there is no other way. We volunteer our servitude through our silence for the most part. But are they helping the world to be better? Are they taking care of us in a way that helps us thrive and succeed? No matter if you're white, black, gay, or straight, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, you don't believe in anything. Is this what our governments and the people who are in charge of running things that we seem to allow, are they, with their dominion over us, treating us with care and respect? Or are they using us as tools to gain their own momentum and their own self-privilege? And that is why, like when you see with YouTube, and I want to give a quick shout out to somebody I'm subscribed to and somebody subscribed to me. His channel's SGT Report. Now, he doesn't know I'm doing this. He didn't ask or anything like that. I don't always agree with his tactics, but I do respect the fact that at least he questions things and tries other ways to get things out. And YouTube, the corporation, like my channel and many others, they're squeezing them out. And he actually did a Patreon for his channel. So if you don't know who SGT Report is, go to his channel, just type in SGT Report and you'll know. Now, like I said, I don't always agree with everything he says, because unfortunately there is some fear porn that he does, but I think overall he's trying to do what a lot of us are doing, and that's speak up. And YouTube, being the corporation that it is figuring, because we're not millionaires, none of us are. So if they can take away the ad revenue, and a lot of people survive on it. Me, I just don't care, because to me, the money is an added bonus. But even mine has dramatically decreased to the point where out of 33,000 subscribers, it looks like maybe 30 people watch my live shows at best, and maybe 500 to 600 people now view. That's not even 1%. But they want to squeeze people out that are trying to say, hey, listen to us, see the bigger picture. So YouTube has dominance over the people that come here that make videos and the people that watch. And are they helping to make us feel better or treat us better with respect? No, they're trying to squeeze out the truth. So even though my video before started out by just talking about what happened with the raccoon and my empathy for it and trying to do as much as I could for an animal that was not domesticated and there was not much I could do, shows that we really have to start thinking on a deeper level. And 777, I want to thank you for such a great comment, because it talks about the fact that, like I've always said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Now, I've made controversial videos. I've made videos that people don't agree with, may not even like me for having my right to have an opinion. But one thing you'll never see is, you'll never hear about anything about me hurting children or hurting animals or trying to rob banks or trying to take your liberties away from you. So there are some people who may not like what I say and may think that I have some alternative motive, and that's fine. They have the right to think anything they want. But I'm not here for world dominance. I'm not here to take over the world. Because let me tell you something, if I had the opportunity to take over this world and I was the leader of everything, I would do things so much more different. It shouldn't be about control and hurting. And if you look at what governments are doing throughout the world, the few are becoming extremely wealthy off of our labor and our suffering. They have dominion over us. And what are they doing? And if you research things like admiralty law and you research things like canon law, which is even superior, far superior than admiralty law, which is far superior than common law, supposedly if you go throughout history and realize how things go, it supposedly is the Pope who is in control of all the dominion over Earth. because he is basically the voice of God. In other words, the theory behind the Pope being in control of everything is basically God decreed him to watch over the earth until God returns. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I haven't been privy to those kind of conversations. But let's assume, or let's just use an example. What if the Pope is really in control of everything? I mean, you see presidents and even the Queen of England get on their knees and kiss his ring finger, to showing they're subjugating themselves. Is his dominion over the earth to help the many, or is it to help the few and themselves? Because, I mean, just look at the Vatican, look at all the riches, look at the palace in England and all the other wealthy people that control the earth and the people that are subjugated under each rule. Look at here in the United States of America Corporation. There are over 43 million people on social welfare programs that keep you poor, that make you lazy. And like he was saying, with the video games and the TV and everything, and even in school, they teach you to hate. Do you think you would have learned, for example, do you think a white person would automatically hate a black person just because they're different? Or is it because you were taught to hate each other and make each other want to fight? What about somebody in the United States and somebody in Russia? Look at what the media is doing to try and make us hate each other to the point where we want to kill one another, and how we justify it in the movies, that the good guy always gets the man, not by reasoning with them or trying to work things out, but murdering each other, almost to the point where they make the bad guys so evil you want them to die. And our children see this. And like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Why do you think they start at a young age? So there are people who have, in essence and in theory, dominion over us, because they can put you in jail while they can get away scot-free. They can have you executed when, what can you do? So they do have dominance. But are they doing it for the benefit of mankind? Or are they doing it for the benefit of the select few? Now, most of you that come here already pretty much know the answer to that question. But my question is, what are you doing to change that? Why is it okay to be complacent as long as you're not the one suffering? Because what will eventually happen is, when you don't protect a certain group and they fade away, that's somebody that will never come to your defense when it finally hits you. And that is what's happening. And that's why I've told people, I don't believe in the nuclear war end of the world scenario, because in an infinite universe with infinite possibilities, every ending is just another beginning. There always has and always will be. I totally believe in that. You don't have to, and that's fine. But I don't believe in the end of the world scenario, because if you know about the fact that the many use the few to benefit themselves from it, to eliminate the things that give them the benefit would be kind of stupid and not beneficial to them. Just imagine if you lived in a house and you had 100 workers for you that did everything. They tied your shoes, they brushed your teeth, they gave you food, gave you back rubs anytime you wanted them, made you laugh whenever you wanted to be in a good mood, would do everything for you. What would happen if you got to the point where you needed that to survive? What benefit would it be if you killed them all? All the things that you had them do for you would be gone, and then you'd have to start doing it for yourself. That's why I tell people all the time, and I have a video about it, why there will never be a nuclear war. But they don't want you to realize that, because they got to keep you scared. They got to keep you in line. They got to keep you thinking, what if? But the reason the few can control the many is through fear. Fear of what if, fear of the unknown. And instead of appreciating that the unknown could be just an opportunity for success, you're always taught that the unknown is scary and to stay away from it. So they're using their dominance, not for good, for all mankind. but for their own selfish needs. And that is why when wars happen, and you could see how bad they want us to start a war with Russia, which will destroy the world if it allowed to be happening. That's why it'll never happen, but that's what they want. They're not going to send their sons and daughters. They're not going to go themselves. They're going to send you or your children to kill and to die so they can profit and sit back and watch the herd get a little thinner. Because just imagine, if you're a cattle rancher, you can only have so many cattle before it becomes a burden. How are you going to feed them? How are you going to protect them? How are you going to shelter them? So just imagine if you have the money to be able to support 1,000, maybe up to 10,000 cattle. And then all of a sudden, you now all of a sudden have 1,000,000 cattle. Do you really care if you die? If you can't support them anyway? That's what wars are all about. And that's why they send your sons and daughters and your brothers and sisters. Maybe even your parent or grandparent who died for somebody else's profit. So this 777 made a great comment, and that's why I love talking about these things, because there's some, it's just a stupid video about raccoons the other way. But this brought us to another level, which shows that these things happen for a reason, and there is a purpose behind it all. What we do with it is up to you. So YouTube is another corporation that's going to try and shut people like me down and others, and it's going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt me because I'm used to having everything taken away from me, and that's fine. Because the beautiful thing is, once everything's been taken away from you, they can't take anything else. But they have control, mostly because we allow it. So my thing is, why complain? And if you are going to complain, why aren't you doing anything in your power to stop it or change it? They've been given dominion for whatever reasons, whether they claimed it, whether it was God, who knows? But they're not doing improvements in this world for all of us to become healthy and happy and wealthy. They're pretty happy. They're pretty healthy. They're the ones that when their children get sick or they get sick, they don't ever have to worry about, well, do I spend the last amount of money I have so I can get better with minimal basic treatments that I'm not going to get? I can't afford any of the complicated things that could actually improve my life, and I have to sacrifice food or shelter or warmth. They'll never have to worry about that. All these smiling government faces and all these smiling people that work for the media that have their nice fancy suit and ties and pretend to care about you, they're not going to bed hungry tonight because they get paid very well to sell out you. And we seem to say it's okay. Why? Because it hasn't happened to you yet. But make no mistake, it will. Here's the beautiful thing that I've tried to teach. Nothing is set in stone. There is no destiny. There is no one path unless you choose to do nothing to get off it. They're hoping by scaring you and by taking away as much as they can from what little you will only have, that you'll end up continuing down your path that they choose for you, thinking it's the only way. It's the only way if you believe that. So yeah, the nuclear option and the destruction of the planet is on the table, although I will never allow that to happen if I can stop it in any way. And I don't believe in it, but it doesn't mean it can't be a possibility. My question is, why would you want anything that could remotely end up even coming close to that option? And we allow corporations who are in control of our information to want us to potentially go to war with somebody else. Our schools teach us to hate. We've been taught throughout history, which is his story, what groups not to like, what places were good and evil, places that many of you have never been, and we only believe it because we've been told it. And I've said this so many times, by their deeds you shall know them. So there are some people that no matter what I say, they're just going to make up fake profiles and say idiotic things, because there are people that will profit from it or do it just for their own entertainment. But what I say to them is, eventually it comes to you, and nobody is going to have your back. That's why I tell people all the time to think for yourself, to question for yourself, but also stop allowing evil to thrive. If you don't get the courage to stand up for yourself and fight for what you believe in, one day you will lose that ability. Right now, you still have the opportunity. Right now, YouTube, for example, still allows us to make our voices heard. They restrict it extremely well. They try and punish you by some people needing this to make a living. I mean, let me tell you something. For those who make fun of people who ask for donations and charge for YouTube videos, anybody have a problem with a newscaster making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not more, some of them even $1 million contracts to spread lies? So think about some of these trolls. If I was to ever say, oh, I asked for donations with Bitcoins. I put that on there if somebody wanted to, or they wanted to donate to my channel, which I've had a total of $15. And they'll say, oh, you're a sellout. You're this. I can't believe you're doing that. And yet they don't have a problem with newscasters making millions of dollars for spreading lies and conforming to the control of its people for their own personal gain and profit. The hypocrisy in some people is amazing. And if we continue to hurt things like animals because we've been given the dominance over them, just think about if it was a test. Let's say there is really a God, the way the Bible said. And let's say God did come along and say, you know what, I'm creating man in my image, and we want you to be dominant over the earth and all its creatures. And we decide to destroy them all. Well, what if God comes back to see what he left? We were the babysitters for the animals and the species and the planet. Well, God was away watching a movie or going on a date, and he comes back to see it all destroyed. You think he'll ever put us in charge again? You think we won't get punished for that? And let's just assume that's what it was. We were given the babysitter job of the planet, and instead of taking care of the children, we decided to destroy them and steal from them and hurt them for our own personal gain. And what I try and teach is to think in a different way, to think in a different perspective. Some people hate me for it because they can't think this deep. They don't have the brain capacity to think about more than themselves. So for me, yes, for some of my trolls, that was just a raccoon. It's just a helpless animal that is a nuisance, that is a pest, that is all over the place. What I saw it as is another one of God's creatures, another living, breathing being that could feel pain. Then who knows, maybe it could experience love and joy. And my heart went out when my eyes hit its eyes, and I sensed what was coming. So people like the news unit, who has been stalking me since 2012, is going to come here, like he just made his comment right now, to say something ridiculous. This is what we're up against. News unit, just to expose this fraud, worked at one point for the government and is still under the government's payroll. How do I know this? Because back in the days when I actually trusted people on YouTube and he used to call me on the phone, he told me this stuff. So news unit, I hope you're proud with your soul-selling hypocrisy. So you can make whatever stupid comments you want and stalk me since 2012. That's the person I wanted to fight in 2012, because when I was going through my problems with my wife and my father died, he thought it would be a great thing to try and take advantage of that. So people like the news unit profit from coming to channels and harassing them and saying such stupid things. And the last time he sent a text to me, he was like, oh, don't you think this is fun? He finds it fun. So news unit,
All you do is show your true colors of what a despicable human being sellout you are. And you're not going to be able to affect me the way you once did. Because I trusted somebody like you, who's nothing more than a snake, who hides behind religion, like so many people do. And it should be, like, I saw, and that's actually funny, because there was somebody that left I saw an image on Facebook today, and they showed this woman who was yelling at her maid. And then they show this woman making fun of a heavy person. Then they show this woman walking past a hurt animal. And then you see her go to the church and pray. And thinks that because she went to church, that makes her a good person, even though she spent her whole day hurting or ignoring those in pain, or hurting people for their own selfish needs. So News Unit pretends he's a man of God, pretends he's a man of Jesus, and yet does nothing but evil. Because he thinks if he goes to church or says the word Jesus, that will buy him a trip to heaven. And I feel sorry for you that since 2012 you still cannot forget about me. It's pathetic, and I want people to know what a snake you are. Because you'll post videos about me on your stupid little channel. I've never seen it in years because I don't care about you. But you'll profit off of this kind of stuff because it amuses you. You're the type of person that can see an animal and probably run it over or find a way to profit off of it and use the sympathy. So News Unit finds this funny. Here's his 15 minutes of fame. But these are the people that will continue to try and harass those who are trying to do nothing but help people for their own personal gain. Congratulations, News Unit. You're a hell of a guy. I bet your family, if you had any, would be so proud of you. So there's your 15 minutes of fame, and now I will yet again block him and erase him because he matters nothing to me. But he'll be back. He'll thumb down my videos. He'll continue to stalk my channel. But this is the person and many others who have been harassing me for years because they can. I used to let it get to me because I was a lot more trusting of people, but you learn. So to me, when I talk about something like a raccoon, some people think it's just a rodent. It's just an animal. It's just another thing that's in the way. And like I said before, I think of it as life, another right to life. And who are we to take it away? Just like we should be saying to people in government, who are you to take our freedom? What right do they have? They only own you if you allow them to. And we seem to be okay with it. We seem to have people like that who will get their government paychecks and never mention that he used to work for the government and got supposedly a dishonorable discharge, but still earns a living from it. That's what some people are willing to do for their own personal gain or their own personal pleasure. And we stay silent. I never want to see this happen to anybody, but just imagine if somebody is raping a little child and we know about it. What do you think happens to that child if we choose to look the other way? If we choose to say nothing? Do you think that helps or hurts that child? And yet, day in and day out, we choose to ignore what evil is going on in this world. And some will profit off of it, and some get off on it. People like the News Unit. Or what I used to lovingly call him, the Ass Unit. And there's many of people like that. It's unfortunate, but that's the way life is when we choose to do nothing, or we choose to be silent, or we choose to allow fear to take us over, or we choose to believe that it's our destiny. It is written in stone. Because I always hated that word, written in stone, because can't you blow up the stone? Can't you carve in something else? You ever look at Egyptian writings on their walls in stone? Many kings crossed out and erased other kings' messages. So written in stone is only permanent if you don't touch it. That should be a lesson in life. Nothing is etched in stone unless you leave it alone. If you etch something in stone and no one ever touches it, it will stay there forever, or as long as that stone is there. But you can easily scratch it off. You can easily get rid of it. So what does etched in stone mean? It means nothing unless you choose to do nothing. So I want to thank 777 for that great comment. And it made me really think of things on a deeper level. And the people that are in charge of us, whether we voted them in or whether they forced themselves in, are they treating us with respect? Are they making our lives better? Are we becoming more united and wealthy? Are we becoming a nation of people who heal or a nation of people who suffer? And if you cannot answer that in a positive way, then let me ask you this. Do you think they're going to change it anytime soon? Now, they'll tell you how many times they will change it. They will put another smiling face. They'll do another person that will motivate you and think this is the one. But time and time again, it's the same thing. It's like opening up a door and somebody punches you in the face. And every time you open that door, somebody punches you in the face. And the reason they can get you to open it again is they say, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. How many times do you have to open that door and have the same thing happen over and over again until you decide to never open that door again? That's why I warn people about Trump, not because I think he's a bad human being. I don't know him personally, but I know the system, and he's in a corrupt system. Let's assume there's a hell, and let's assume Mother Teresa goes down to hell to try and save it. And she's there surrounded by not only Satan himself, but millions upon millions of demons. What chance does she have? What chance in hell does she have? Doesn't matter what her intentions were. Go into a den of lions and see what chance you have. And that is what Trump or anyone else is doing right now. They can have the best intention, but he's in the lion's den. And the lion's going to be feasting. So take your power over anything seriously. Because you can easily walk out and see a bird and it has a clipped wing, a hurt, and you can easily step on it and kill it, or run it over, or just walk past it. Because that requires no empathy. It requires no intelligence, no effort. Or you can stop whatever you were about to do, put it in a box, try and feed it and save its life. Because maybe in the end, maybe there is judgment, and maybe that bird was placed there voluntarily to see what type of person you are. And there will be those that will be judged for walking away. There will be those that are judged for, quote unquote, putting it out of its misery. And there will be those that will be judged on the fact that even though they had a busy day, even though it might have been inconvenient, even though it might have put them in a struggle, that they stopped and saved or attempted to save another living creature's life instead of extinguishing it or ignoring it. And unfortunately, we're in a world of people who either hurt others for their own benefit or amusement, or ignore other people so they don't have their boat rocked.
which type of person do you want to be? And it doesn't matter who you are at this moment or who you were 5 minutes ago. You can be whatever you want to be, or whatever you choose not to be. It's all a choice. So this video could inspire you. It could make you be like the news unit and continue on his path of saying retardedly stupid things and stalking channels for their own personal gain and self-amusement. Which, I mean, if you've seen him, I can understand why, if you ever watch the news unit's channel, why he barely ever shows himself on camera. Probably a reason why he doesn't have any kids and probably doesn't have a girlfriend. When you act a certain way, you get what you give. So if you give evil, you think love's going to follow you? I actually feel sorry for him, because I haven't even thought of that person until he popped up, and he needs to pop up to be relevant. That's a sad life. And I'm sure he's made plenty of money doing what he does. But it ain't going to buy him anything more than a fancy grave when it's his time to go. And if he goes alone with nobody loving him, that's a hell of a waste of a life, if you ask me. But it's all choice. So I'm actually glad he showed his face up here to show what type of person he and many others are. Most of the people are just cowards. They won't even say anything. They'll just make another fake profile, say something stupid. Because they can. Don't be those type of people. Feel sorry for them, because they can't feel in the way that most good people can. And they'll root for the bad guy. And they'll walk away when somebody's got their hand out, hoping somebody will actually put a penny in their bucket or their cup so they can buy a meal. I hope we develop more empathy. I hope we also lose the fear and realize you can do whatever you want. That's why I've said it so many times. You can choose to do the right thing, the wrong thing, or nothing. It's all your choice, but there's always consequences for your choices, even if those consequences don't appear for you right away. And if you do it just for the fact that you get a consequence from it, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And that's why I've always talked about with gold and silver. I've never talked about the fact that's going to make you rich. I never talked about the fact that you're going to be well off. What did I always say? It was always about protection, about insurance, the just in case, the what if. But if you look at somebody, for example, with stocks or even with bitcoins, they talk about the fact of, look how much money I'm making. We can be millions, if not billions, of selfish people all looking for our own self-interest, and see how that benefits the world and all of ourselves. Because if we all have our own superficial, selfish self-interests, and we ignore our fellow humans and every other thing that lives on this planet, we will slowly allow everything to eradicate until one thing will eventually die that meant something to you. And then you'll wish you did something different. And that is the ultimate form of regret. It's looking back on your life saying, I could have done things so much more different. And you could blame your father, you could blame your mother, you could blame your job, you could blame your environment, or you could take responsibility that it's always been your choice. Because this is coming from a person that from the age of 10 to the age of 26, I lived with an alcoholic. So there's always a choice. I could have easily become cynical. It's all choice. And I hope you choose to one day help change the world and find people who want to be in charge of people because they want good things to happen for all, not just for the few. You know, there's an old saying that says, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. How many times do we need to be fooled by these people who pretend to be in power of us? Nobody has power over anybody unless it's forced upon them, tricked upon them, where you decide it's okay, even if by saying nothing. If a car thief steals your car in front of your house and you watch them do it and you don't say anything, don't stop them, and don't call the police, that person gets away with a very bad thing. But because you chose not to do anything, you allowed it to happen. That's what I keep trying to tell you about consent through silence. So picture it that way. You're looking out your window, you see a person get in your car and drive away, and you decide to do nothing. You don't call the cops, you don't try and stop them, you don't try and get your car back. That person gets away with it, not because you didn't say, here, take it. It's because you didn't try and stop them or do anything to get it back. And this is what I'm trying to instill in people, and I'll be damned if I let YouTube and their ad revenues stop me. Because I'm going to show you something. I want you to see this really quick. Here's my recent ad revenue, and you can see it's on a live camera. There you go. Because I got dropped from Disney. Here's my ad revenue so far, $8.16. I don't do this to make a living, but some people do. And some people seem to have a problem with it because, God forbid, somebody can actually make a living. But meanwhile, news reporters can make millions. I mean, Donald Trump just donated his first check for being president, which was $700 and something thousand. It was nice that he donated it, but it must be nice to have that much money to where $700 and something thousand means nothing to you. They get paid lots of money. Trolls don't get paid that much money, but they get paid enough to make it worth their while to go and harass other people. And it happens because good people do nothing, because they're afraid that if they rock the boat, they'll get knocked over. But what they don't understand is we're all in the same boat. And if we keep rocking that boat, eventually the boat cracks and everybody drowns. So you don't want to save one or two going over because you're glad it's not you? Eventually it will be you. And then you'll wish people would save you, and you'll be in the water, and you'll be looking up at the people still in the boat, and they're looking the other way, pretending you're not there, just like you did for the other people that went under. But now it's your turn. And if you're still on that boat, and you see all those people, and you still choose to do nothing, eventually it will be your turn. And even if it isn't your turn, eventually so much greed will overtake that boat. People trying to get in, people trying to keep people out, people trying to be in charge of that boat, and they'll be fighting amongst themselves until somebody does something stupid enough to damage the boat, and it sinks and they all go under. And that's the circle of life. And that's why you could see throughout history, civilizations that once controlled everything became dust. Because people didn't care, or people were too afraid, or people didn't appreciate what was below them, or abuse them. It's very easy to abuse a helpless animal. You can have a dog, a cat, a raccoon, a bird, or anything. And you can say, you know what? I'm going to torture that thing just because I can. Makes you feel superior. Or I'm going to make fun of somebody. Or I'm going to attack them over the internet because it gives me power. It makes me feel good to hurt someone else. Well, one day your time will come. And you will get what you sow. And that's why I always say one of my heroes is Spider-Man. Because of the fact that he realized, like we said, with great power comes great responsibility. His whole theory of his whole origin is the fact that he got these superpowers as a teenager and he didn't know what to do with them at first. So he did his own greedy, selfish thing by earning money by becoming a professional wrestler because he knew that his powers he would be able to win and he could make some easy money. So he goes to battle somebody, and let's just assume the tournament was for $500. I don't remember, it's irrelevant. Let's just assume it was $500. And the manager, after Spider-Man Peter Parker wins the wrestling match, goes in the back office to get his $500, and the manager gives him maybe $50 and says, this is all you're getting. And Peter Parker, maybe even justly so, was very mad at that manager and stormed out, realizing he wasn't going to get the full 500 that he was pledged. He got screwed, and he storms out. Well, in walks a criminal that robs that very manager and takes all of his money. And Peter Parker sees that happening, and the manager's screaming, help me, help me. And because Peter Parker was pissed off at that person, he did nothing. As the robber walked past him through the elevator, which he could have easily stopped him. But because of his own selfish interest, and his hatred for the other person who robbed them, he did nothing. And the irony of it is, that very person he let go because of his own selfishness and his own anger ultimately ended up killing his Uncle Ben. Now, the movies say it differently, but the comic books is that robber went to his house to burglar it, and Ben got shot in the house. And that's the day that Peter Parker realized with great power comes great responsibility. Our voice is our power. It's very powerful, especially when you keep it silent, because it sends a clear message that, okay, evil, do what you want, just don't do it to me. And they might even say, okay, I won't do it to you. In the back of their head, they say, for now. And again, I've said this so many times, if the world is getting better, we're getting more united and closer together, and we get more and more harmony, and people are getting, less chance of being sick, and we're curing all diseases and everything, I could say, you know what, to hell with me, I'm totally off base. But I don't think many people see that as the case. So I'm going to end this video right now. And I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to what I have to say. And I want you to think about this, because there's consequences for everything, including doing nothing. So people like the news unit, I'm so glad he came here to show what people that do the wrong thing are like. Because to him, he finds this a joke. He'll continue to harass, because that's the type of person he is. Because he's probably got nothing better to do, or he gets paid to do it. Nobody stalks somebody for over 5 years unless there's psychologically something wrong with them. They're incredibly bored, which see the first thing I said, or they're getting paid to do it. It's not normal. And the ironic part is somebody like that will call me crazy because I question things, because I have an alternative viewpoint. Since when is questioning things a bad thing? The very people that teach us the bad things and the ones that are in control of us are the ones that made it clear that if you're a quote-unquote conspiracy theorist, you're a crazy tinfoil hat wearing person, instead of a free thinker who questions things and makes sure they think about more than themselves, because they love more than themselves. That doesn't make us perfect. It just makes us different. The path of least resistance is not always the right path. But remember, it's always a choice. So you could shut this off after I'm done speaking and think, oh, that was a great speech. You could think of it, oh, that guy's just a lunatic, or it meant nothing to me, and you can go on with your life. Or you could sit there and say, you know what, this inspired me to finally make my voice heard, to finally no longer allow evil to continue to thrive. And it shows it serves a purpose. Have a purpose in your life. If you think you were placed on this planet so you could work at McDonald's or work at some corporation or sell out your fellow human beings to make a couple of coins from a government, if you think that's the purpose of your life, then what was the reason for us to be given this opportunity and this dominance over all the creatures of the planet? Because we sure are. If they gave a report card, just imagine all the animals and all the trees and all the living things in this world. If when we all die, God goes up to the creatures and all the living things of the earth and say, well, we put man in charge. How'd they do? You think we're getting a good review? Oh, well, there were some good ones, but most people look the other way. But do it for the right reasons. Don't do it just because you feel guilty. I don't try and help animals because I feel guilty. It's because it's the right thing to do, and I have empathy for them, and there are many people that do. Some will never understand that, and that's fine. If they want to be the ones that hurt animals or look the other way when another one's suffering and just think, oh, it's just another creature, you got to hope somebody far superior or far more powerful than you doesn't think the same way. And I think that's the biggest fear of us as a society. If you watch all these movies with aliens and everything, that you have a far superior intellect of a being that comes and sees us as their cattle. That's why you'll see many of them where aliens come to either take our planet or use us as food or resource or energy or labor. And we don't like that. But it's kind of ironic that we do it to everything below us and think of it as no big deal. But yet, if a shark attacks a person, or an alien movie attacks a person, they're like, oh, how come they don't feel? Because maybe they treat us like we do cows, or how some people abuse dogs and cats. No big deal. It's the old proverbial shoe on the other foot that makes you kind of see things from a different perspective. So, as usual, I will go into my rants. I will go off topic. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you listen. I would love to know in the comments section once this video uploads how much of my videos you actually watch. How long? Do you watch 5 minutes? Do you watch 30 seconds? Do you watch the whole thing? And what do you get out of them? I want to know your opinions of what you think I'm doing and my purpose. Do you think I'm kind of some kind of scammer that's just here to take millions of dollars and just trying to put on a show? Or do you think I'm somebody that's genuine, or you think I'm somewhere in between? Do the right thing. The whole world is counting on you. Thanks for listening. Have a great night. And don't forget to have people like the news unit spayed or neutered. Peace.